What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Simply People podcast. This is season 1, all about the magic of generosity. I'm your host, Dax Vanderwall, and joining me in this journey of generosity. Have I used that line before? That's
you
a good
have
line.
Used it, I think, every time.
Like way too much? Darn it. Okay.
Can't use it too
Joining
much.
me in this adventure of generosity.
I like
wow. Is the founder of Simply People, Todd Thacker. Todd, how are you?
I am great.
Today?
I'm great. And I like that you use the word adventure because honestly, generosity has become an adventure, and it's
It has.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to Google more synonyms for journey and adventure. The process of generosity. I'll ask ChatGPT.
That sounds heavy. I think we have another episode coming up that process word might fit better.
Maybe. So today we're supposed to talk about, the plan is to talk about the missing opportunities to be generous. And I mean, I'll just be honest with you, that kind of sounds like a downer. I don't know. I don't want to spend time talking about my missed opportunities.
Right.
I want to talk about my made opportunities.
Right.
So why is it worth it to focus so much on missing, on the opportunities that we've missed?
I think one of the things that I've learned from doing that, and again, the whole goal is that we start to make generosity an inherent aspect of our life. So if I can look back and see, I missed opportunity, or even in a situation where I fell into an opportunity that I didn't see for myself, but then later it revealed itself as an opportunity. Those are great things. Those have been great things for me to learn so that I can, because I do believe, and I think I've said this before, that all day, every day, every interaction we have presents an opportunity for generosity. I really believe that. Or to come alongside people or to notice people. It can be super little things. And I think when I've taken a look at things that I've missed, I think in one of the earlier episodes I talked about not helping. I felt that I was supposed to help the lady with her bag and put it up, and I didn't because I evaluated the situation myself. Mm-hmm. And in that one, what I realized and what I learned from looking at the missed opportunity was that my understanding isn't necessarily the real understanding. In that case, the lady only had one good arm. Mm-hmm. So even though it looked like she should have been able to handle her bag, and my reasons for not stepping up and helping her were good reasons, I missed an opportunity. But I learned a lot in that. The same thing I know I said in one of the episodes about giving away money in Chicago, and the guy chewed me out. And the second guy, when he cussed me out, the first guy was polite. Second guy told me no. The second guy cussed me out. And I think I told you, butthurt. But what I felt was, I was like, God was like, dude, you're not doing it for the right reasons. I want you to do it because I'm asking. And I think that's a really good thing. It's like, we don't have to get it right. We don't have to be the hero of the story. We don't have to do any of that. We don't have to understand what's going on, any of that. But for me, when I feel that nudge now, I want to say yes, and I want to do it. If I get it wrong, I get it wrong. But I want to step out, and that's part of the joy and fun and excitement of a journey of generosity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think thinking about missed opportunities, I think on the one hand, I think some people might feel like they don't have that many opportunities throughout the day to be generous.
Right.
That's what I used to feel. Even through this podcast, I'm realizing I have so many opportunities to be generous every single day. And actually, I would say I'm starting to recognize them a little bit more, which is a great first step.
Right.
But yeah, can you just bring us into maybe a story, a time when you missed an opportunity and then later realized that, or you missed an opportunity, regretted it, something like that?
Sure. I have talked about going to Faith Alive in Nigeria, and that's an AIDS clinic that we work at. And there was a situation where there were expired HIV drugs, antiretroviral drugs. And while maybe in the United States, we wouldn't use expired drugs because we have access in a country, developing country, that doesn't have as much access, for a short time, they could use expired drugs. So there was someone that had access to a significant amount of expired drugs, and these drugs were being transferred to Uganda. And we had made arrangements that I was going to fly over, and James, he lived with us. James and I were going to fly over. We were going to meet the doctor there. We were going to get the expired drugs. We were going to put them in as many suitcases as we need, and we were going to fly out. And we were supposed to be in Uganda. We were on our way to Nigeria, but the stop beforehand was in Uganda. And we were supposed to be there for, I think, 14 hours maybe in country. And so the very first night didn't work out for us. So we're going to spend a next night. And it ended up, Dax, being like Groundhog Day. I don't know if you know that movie where it's just over and over and over. It was the same thing every day. We thought we were leaving. And then for whatever reason, the guy that was helping us, we couldn't get the drugs, etc. And so James and I were a little frustrated. Why are we here? I needed a break. So it was kind of, like relaxing, but we were actually tethered to the phone. It wasn't like we could go out because every day we thought we were leaving that day. We had to be prepared to get the drugs and do all that. Long story short, after 11 days and we were going to this cafe that was right where the hotel was, Cafe Java's. We were going there probably 3-4 times a day because we didn't have a lot else to do. We just go to drink. They have free internet that expired every 20 minutes. So we kept getting the code. But in that process, because we were there so many times, we met and befriended probably a dozen waiters and waitresses. And then we realized we were going to leave. And they're like, we don't believe you're leaving because you told us that every single day. We're like, no. If we're here tomorrow, that will be the last day. And so what can we do to thank them or whatever? James and I are trying to figure out. And it's like, I don't know what we buy them all to give them. And we had a missing suitcase that had all these things we brought for people in Nigeria, but that suitcase never showed up. We were going out to the airport every day to try to find that. So you could look at this and think this whole thing is upside down, nothing's happening. So James and I decided we split up the 12 people that we were going to do. We put a verse on the front and then we wrote a note inside to each one, a personalized note. And then both of us signed it and we left them for them. And then we went out and I don't know what we did, but when we came back, it was going to be our final time there. There were probably 5 of the people that were there. And they're like, oh my gosh, why did you do that? That was the nicest thing anyone's done. We gave a card, the handwritten verse on the front and a handwritten note. And they were just like, it was like we gave them $100 or $500 or something like that. That was their response to that. So there was a situation where we're like, we don't know what to do. We're stuck. We don't know anything. And, but we had a big impact by taking a step back and noticing these people and in a small way, offering a thank you. We, become friends.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that because you thought you were going on this mission trip to Nigeria, helping out this, and then none of that happens.
None of it happened.
So in that sense, it could have felt like we just missed that opportunity to go on this whole mission trip. So we're just going to sit here, complain about it, fly back home. That was kind of a waste of time.
That's right.
But also I love that, like, it's not like you just gave all these, so they worked at the hotel? Like
they worked in the restaurant.
Oh, in the restaurant.
That was the waiters and waitresses. We did it for the people in the hotel too. We did do that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, we had some fun with them too. We would call them from the front desk. It was a brand new hotel. We could see the front desk, our friends from the front desk from the restaurant. And we'd call them and I'd be, hello, this is Mr. Jones. I need to get 10 rooms and, like whatever. And then it's like, actually it's, Todd and James from the dining room. And they're just like, oh my gosh. And so we had some fun. But it was super frustrating because we were so passionate about getting the medication to Nigeria. And we were passionate to go see our friends in Nigeria and serve again at the clinic. But that didn't come to fruition. Yeah. But the interesting thing is the story continues. Okay. 3 years later, Grant, one of the kids that lived with us when you lived with me, he was doing a world race, which was 11 countries, 11 months. Yep. And he was a little skeptical about doing it. He felt he was supposed to do it. And I said, dude, when you get to Africa, I'll come visit you. Just let me know what countries you're going to be in. So the only country that I've only been in Nigeria and Uganda, but one of his countries is Uganda. I'm like, oh, dude, I'll come to Uganda. And the one day, James and I got in a driver that took us down to the equator because it was New Year's Day and we knew we weren't leaving that day. So I had become this guy's friend. I hit him up and said, I want to go see Grant. Can you drive me down? It was like a 6 hour drive down. So I went and he's like, okay, but he met me at the airport. Dennis met me at the airport. And he's like, before we go to drive to this town, I want to go to the bank so you can pay me. I'm like, sure. So the bank that we went to was between the hotel and the restaurant where we'd been in. So I went and saw who I knew at the hotel, and the doorman was still there. So I saw him and everything. And then I went into the restaurant, and I'm like, oh, I don't see anyone I know. And then all of a sudden I hear, is that Mr. Todd? And it was Nicholas, one of the guys that I knew. And he's like, what are you doing here? I said, well, we told you we were coming back. And I said, actually, I'm going to Runkenjeri, but I'll be back on Thursday. He goes, oh, great. Sabrina will be here. I'm not sure who else still works here. I don't think, but we'll both be here Thursday, and we'll see you when you come back. I said, great. So as soon as I leave, there's this other kid whose name I could not remember, but just was so heavy on my heart. And I was just like, I don't even remember the kid's name, but I was obviously supposed to be there for Grant, but now I'm feeling like I'm also supposed to be there for this other kid. I don't really know. And so anyway, Grant and I have a really great time. A hippo came out under our boat when we were in that and knocked the boat 10 feet to the left, didn't flip us, fortunately. Wow. When we were in the river. So that was kind of exciting and a little bit unnerving for Dennis, the guy that was taking responsibility for us. But, and so we're driving back. I'm exhausted. I, traveled from the United States, been in the country for 5 days and really had no downtime. And I'm just like, and Dennis is going to have to come back and get me to get my flights like 3:30 in the morning or something like that. And I'm just like, I'm so exhausted. I don't need to go see these people. It's not going to matter or whatever. But then finally at the last second, it's like, no, you need to go. So I go in there and I meet this and Sabrina's there. She's like, oh my God, Todd, like whatever. And then I go and there's Nicholas is there and this guy Najib. And I had to look at his name badge but the second I saw him, I'm like, that's the kid that's been in my heart this whole time. And that's the one I'm here for. And I was just like, I looked at his name, I'm like, Najib, were you swimming on Monday? Because all of a sudden I remembered he swam on Monday when I was there. He's like, how do you remember that? And I said, I just do. Long story. This is a long story. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
But anyway, so Najib, he's like, how long are you here? He goes, I have to go back to work after a couple of minutes of talking. And I said, well, I'm here till 11 o'clock. I just want to sit in your section. And so I go sit in his section and we start this conversation. And so I have my tattoo, and it's a Jesus. I didn't have that before. And he's like, dude, you didn't have that tattoo. What is that? And I'm like, well, it's Jesus. I'm like, do you know who it is? And he's like, yeah, but I'm a Muslim. And he said, but, I don't understand what's happening, Todd. Something's going on since you've been here. And it's like overwhelming. And I'm like, dude, you've been in my heart. He's telling me he wants to start a business. And I'm just like, I just feel that you're supposed to start this business. You're supposed to involve God in the business. And I forgot that you're a Muslim. But I'm just sharing my heart. And he goes, okay, when I told you I had to go wait on my table, I didn't have to go wait on my table. It was as soon as I saw you, I was overcome emotionally. I didn't know what was going on inside of me. I had to go wash my face. I was all hot and sweaty. I'm like, dude, that's not me. That's the Holy Spirit coming after you. And anyway, he's like, we're talking through the night. He's like, Todd, I want what you have. I can't deny what I've experienced and no one can talk me out of it. And I said, well, I would like your faith to be your faith, not Todd's faith. And what the other thing so I went back, sent him the books from the United States, sent him some books. And a month later we prayed and he became a Christian. His family abandoned him. But back to the simple thing of generosity, what he said that was super interesting. He said, I never had met anyone like you and James before. He said, we're waiters. No one ever talks of us. Wow. That you could remember that I went swimming on Mondays 3 years later. That's just remarkable to me. So there's a situation where, and he's a Christian. His family's disowned him because of that. But there's a situation where James and I went over there and nothing went the way we thought it would, but we still tried to be open. We had no idea of the opportunity. We had no idea that we would get that kind of response from the little note cards that we wrote. And obviously I had zero idea that I would come back, that I would meet Najib again, that he would be on my heart and that he would become a Christian and, change his own life because of what seemingly would have been a bunch of missed opportunities. Because I didn't even want to go back that night and I did.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I mean, first of all, it seems that with this story and with every story, I'm realizing it always involves people. It's always very relationship based.
Yeah.
And so I do think a very simple question for us to ask ourselves is just who am I going to interact with today? Who am
Right.
I going to be in proximity to? Maybe you're not going to Uganda today, but you're going to interact with people to some extent. That could literally just be a delivery person. That could be coworkers. And so just start there.
You could be in your car and it could be someone in a crosswalk.
Totally.
You know,
yeah, it could literally
or-
be a friendly smile, a wave to someone.
Right.
Yeah,
Or, I've been at the grocery store and see someone and I'll grab the door for them. I'll help them with their groceries. And, that's just exactly it. It's just being open to it, especially when you don't understand.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a big thing. That's, the Uganda story is a big thing and it happened over 3 years, which to me is crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
So we're thinking we're going for this, and clearly part of what we were going for was to meet all these people in Javas, and then to come back and meet Najib again and go on with him.
Yeah. So why do we miss opportunities to be generous? I mean, ultimately, I think it has to be we're distracted. But
I think, obviously I believe in spiritual warfare. You don't have to be destroyed. You just need to be distracted. Or we could be insecure.
wow.
Or, I had a situation, two of my daughters are from my wife's first marriage. And when we moved from Orange County to Sacramento, her ex refused to pay for the airfare for the kids to fly back and forth. And we, from a fairness standpoint, that's not fair. But what we decided was it was in the kids' best interest. They didn't have a choice. I had a choice to marry someone with children. The kids didn't have a choice. And so we chose to do the right thing. And, it laid a foundation of for the kids, to them to see, we didn't involve them in any of it, but just by choosing to do the right thing, it wasn't fair, but it was right. And that created an opportunity. And our generosity in that, it laid an amazing foundation for us with our kids.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of a way of life to approach things and to not do necessarily what's right, to not do necessarily what's fair, but to do what's right. And it's the same thing. It's like when I was going to meet Najib, I was so tired, and I was looking at it from Dennis's, the driver's perspective. He's going to have to leave his family again and come and get me at 11 o'clock at night to take me to the airport. It'd just be simpler, but no. It's, with the lady of the suitcase, I'm thinking I'm not, she doesn't need my help. We can think that I'm not good enough. I had a situation in my law firm. I was a first-year associate, and one of the mid-level associates called me up and said, I've got an assignment for you. And the assignment was to, a super interesting issue or whatever. And he told me, you have 10 days. This was a Thursday. And he goes, a week from Monday, Celeste, the partner, is going to need the memo. I'm like, okay. Well, it was the most interesting thing that I had going. So I jumped right in and I start working on this. And so this is Thursday. On Monday, 3 days later, 4 days later, whatever it is, Celeste calls me and goes, how's the memo coming? I said, well, I'm almost done, but not quite yet. And she said, okay. And then she called me like an hour later, how's the memo coming? I'm like, almost done, but I'm not done yet. And then she's like, well, I have to leave in an hour. I'm like, okay, well, I'll be done before then. Then she calls me and it's like, 15 more minutes. I said, okay, I'll bring it over to you in 5 minutes or whatever. And the whole time I'm like, I know this guy gave me 10 days to do that when the real assignment was 3 days. And I didn't have the confidence. I knew I was right. I didn't have the confidence to actually fight for myself. And I think it's not, that maybe isn't necessarily about, but it's fighting for yourself, having the confidence to step out, to speak up, to do that. Those are things that can impede us from and cause us to miss opportunities to be generosity. And that, when I was leaving the law firm, one of my buddies said, he sabotaged you. This is like several years later. He sabotaged you, right? He felt threatened by you. And so.
Yeah, insecure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He felt insecure, but it played into my insecurities, and I never spoke up. So it made me look like I was being unresponsive,
Yeah.
as opposed to
Wow.
it wasn't my deal. But I think, but I think there's a parallel to opportunities. Again, it's being open that all day, every day. There are opportunities, and
Yeah.
I know when people start looking at opportunities, it can be really hard to see. But what I love, what you said, Dax, is just the simple. It can be just the simple things. You know, a Uganda story is a sexy story, maybe, or more interesting. But I think I told you about the lady at the checking people in the high rise in L.A. And all I did is say, "How you're doing?" And she burst into tears. So there was a simple thing, and but I noticed her.
Yeah.
And I noticed how people were talking to her, and maybe not rude or whatever, but they certainly weren't, noticing her, and just simply taking the time out to do that had an impact on someone.
Yeah.
And again, I think we don't know what people need. We don't know where people are. But what I've found is God will give us opportunities to come alongside people in ways that we may not see.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have opportunities every day to be more generous, but we're really distracted. So we might miss those opportunities. And actually, I think this is super profound. I haven't heard before. Insecurity is definitely one of the reasons why we miss opportunities to serve others, to love others, to be generous.
Right.
I'm even thinking for myself. Sometimes in social settings, I'm anxious. I'm socially anxious.
Right.
And so I'm literally, that's me just kind of focusing on myself.
Right.
I'm focusing on how I'm perceived.
Right.
And so I miss out on opportunities. I'm not thinking about other people. I'm not seeing them.
Right.
And so I've heard, some people talk about, you can walk into a room and say, "Here I am," and just sort of self-focused, or you can walk into a room saying, "Here you are, there
Right.
you are," and focused on others. And so I think that's so true. Sometimes we might just be so insecure. We're so focused on ourselves and our own
Right.
self-worth
Right.
that we're missing opportunities.
Absolutely. And I will say, it's funny that you say that, because when I was your age, if I went in a room and didn't know someone, and people are shocked when they hear that, because I am definitely a full-on extrovert today. I told you the story about approaching the kid at Top Golf. I have no problems approaching people today.
Yeah.
I just don't. And, but when I was that age, if I went in a room and didn't know anyone, I came out of the room not knowing anyone.
Yeah.
And it was just a lack of confidence and insecure.
Yeah. So even if you saw an opportunity to be generous, you
Yes.
wouldn't have taken it. 'Cause
I
it's
wouldn't have taken it.
I don't know anyone here.
Right.
I don't know how I'm going to be perceived and judged. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Well, and yes, exactly. So there's a variety of different reasons that we can miss opportunities. And so that's why I try to listen to the nudge. I'll feel a nudge, and I've had situations. I've had situations where I've seen someone on the side of the road. There's, again, I've said this before, there's more homeless people than I have money to support.
Yeah.
But if I feel it, I try to stop it. And one of the things that's bolstered that is there have been times where, say, I'm driving somewhere and I'm going to drop one of my kids off, and I'm going to be back by here in 5 minutes, and I'll give the person $5 then and come back and the person's gone. And so I made a judgment call. I felt like I was supposed to help them. I made a judgment call. I missed the opportunity.
Right.
Because the person's gone. So it's from those things. Again, why do we look at missed opportunities? I want to understand where I've missed so I don't moving forward.
Yeah.
And truly, it's just adjusting the lens that I approach life with.
Yeah.
And I think we also get ourselves in a false sense of complacency. I know as a Christian, I could look at, okay, so I go to church, I volunteer, I tithe, and so I'm doing what God wants me to do. But am I really stepping into the bigger things that God has for us? And I only started going to Nigeria because my kids, and later found out that God was using my kids to get me where He wanted me. So, there's was missed opportunity, and I only did it because I knew that if my 20-year-old was willing to spend 2 weeks with me, there's only one answer, and that set me on a path to go. And so it's just really, it's interesting. And then it's just an awareness, Dax. It's an awareness that if we're being called to come alongside someone, we already have whatever it is that we need. And it can be as simple as a smile. It can be as simple as a handshake. It can be as simple as opening a door for someone, or it can be as complex as some of the other stories that we've talked about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. I think it's interesting when you mentioned volunteering, because on one hand, you don't want to miss opportunities to be generous. On the other hand, also you can just like go make opportunities. You can go be proactive. You don't just, it's not just sitting somewhere and being like, well, God didn't tell me to specifically
Right.
give to that person.
Right.
But volunteering is one way that, like, if you just commit to volunteering in some way, you're literally putting something in your schedule of saying, that's my time. That's specific time that I'm setting aside to be generous.
Right.
And by doing that, it might help you understand, oh, I could do this in other realms of life as well.
That's right. And I think that's exactly what's happened with me. And so going on a mission trip the first time to Nigeria, that was me volunteering.
Yeah. That opened your eyes. Like, whoa,
right.
How do I do this all the time?
Right. And then I told you about when I got stuck in the helping clear out the storage area and my arms were caked with decaying shelves and all that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is the stupidest thing ever. And then the next day, the staff guy is like, I learned an important lesson from the Bayside team that they have an amazing work ethic. And, you know, this wasn't beneath them to do this. Yeah. It's the job that none of us wanted to do. And so one of the things that's helped me see opportunities is understand that more times than not, there's way more going on than I imagined. Yeah. It never occurred to me that I would go back to Uganda 3 years later and bump into Najib and any of that. Totally. It never occurred to me that just a handwritten note could have such a profound impact.
Yeah.
You know, and then honestly, the fact that I married someone with kids, that made me a better dad because I didn't take my kids for granted, and I didn't take my role as a father. You know, I was a equal parent from day one, but I didn't take my role for granted. And so I stepped into, I think, a different opportunity. And, you know, from some of these things, you know, I got it right, but I wouldn't say it was always a conscious right. But as I've gotten things right and learned to be generous, it builds on itself. So to your point, it builds on itself. And
and let's give a final word of encouragement to someone who might feel shame from missing an opportunity, and also who doesn't feel like, or is maybe frustrated on, I just don't feel like I have that many opportunities.
Right.
And when they do arise, I might be missing them, and maybe just frustrated, feeling shame. What would you say to that person?
I would say there is no guilt or shame in missing an opportunity. I think it's opportunity to learn. So truly, and again, it's my faith, but I try to look at things. Is it positive? Is it future? Is it constructive? Is it love? And those are, to me, those are the things that flow from God. The rest of the stuff flows from Satan. So shame, guilt, whatever, regret. I think that's a way. I believe it's a spiritual world, and that's a way to distract people. You don't have to hurt people, you distract people. Okay, well, I missed the opportunity. There's not going to be. What I found is those missed opportunities, I've been super honest about a variety of opportunities I missed, or that I was doing it for the wrong reasons or whatever. But the reality was those were opportunities for me to grow and me to learn. So positive, future, constructive. What's constructive? It's like, okay, so the next time I feel like I'm supposed to help someone with a bag, if I look at it and think, or whatever the ask is, if I look at it and whatever I'm being asked to do doesn't equate with my understanding of the circumstances, I learned from that God probably has something different going on than I can see, and I should go do it. And again, the story I just said about the storage thing in Nigeria, I thought it was all about that. No, it was like showing a different work ethic to people. And we just don't we don't know what those things are going to be. But that's where the fun comes in. Because if I always had to know before I could do it, then I would definitely miss opportunities.
Absolutely.
And I think it's about our heart. If your heart's in the right place and you want to be generous with your heart, you will start to find opportunities. You'll start to feel the nudge, and it's a muscle, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just like what muscles need to work out. And so we're gonna miss opportunities, but that's an opportunity to grow. That's an opportunity to learn. That's an opportunity to be prepared and more open the next time. Yeah. And that, to me, there's no. I don't believe that there's a downside to wanting to have a generous lifestyle. I believe that it may take time to actually, get it and make it an inherent part. I still miss opportunities.
Yeah.
You know, God had to use the kids to get me to Africa. I talked about how God had to use you, Thrive students, to get Thrive students in the front door so he could get the heroin addict Chad that I helped in the back door. And so I've learned from those things. It's like, okay, I don't want to have to be manipulated anymore to do it. I want to find it myself if I can and say yes. But if I get it wrong, what I found is because my heart's in the trying to step in the fullness of opportunity, trying to say yes, that other opportunities will materialize. And those things that I could have talked myself out of, well, generosity is not worth it. I'm not good enough. I'm going to miss the opportunity. I keep missing the opportunity, whatever. I just rebuke all those thoughts because it's counterproductive. It's not, it's just, that's not of God. I'm sorry, but that's just not of God. So, so that's what I would say. Cause, and again, I would say you got to have fun with it. You got to have fun with that. And there's no downside to getting it wrong. So you try to be generous to someone, you get it wrong, and it wasn't an opportunity from God or whatever, big deal. Yeah. You've probably helped someone in some way, or I suspect you're going to learn something, or I've learned something from opportunities like that myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, missing opportunities is just a part of the journey. It's part of the adventure.
That's right.
Generosity.
And it can be fun. I mean, it can be frustrating. Okay. It can be frustrating. I'm not trying to say that it can't be, but what I've learned, don't be frustrated, be open for the next time and use that as a learning thing so that the next time you can see it. And again, these are things that we didn't necessarily grow up seeing, and like I said, I thought I was a good Christian, going to church, volunteering, tithing, whatever, but I was missing the opportunity to step into different things that God had for me that I never imagined for myself. Yeah. And so through missing some of these things, it's broadened my perspective and truly helped me. And I've talked a little bit about this, that it's a nudge. And my responsibility, this is what's helped me not miss opportunities, is to realize that my responsibility is yes. I don't have to have the right reasons. I don't have to have the full understanding. I don't have to be good enough. I don't have to any of those things. All I have to do is say yes. And if I can be obedient when I feel the nudge and, use my lens of generosity or opportunity, then that's success.
Yeah, that's it.
So
it's cool. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. This has been episode 6 of the Simply People podcast. Make sure to subscribe and share it with someone who would be blessed by this content and might be inspired by this content. And make sure to follow Simply People on all social media platforms below. And we will see you in the next episode, in episode 7. And I will still find more synonyms for journey and adventure.
Well,
so we'll have to come
look
up
forward
with
to it. I look forward to it.
All right. See you guys in the next one.